What's up, everybody? Early Stoppage MMA here. Today we're going to be doing an interesting video where I'm going to go through and sort of do a state of the featherweight division in the UFC and sort of make a case for why I think the featherweight division is on its way to being like super impressive, super talented, super stacked, kind of the way that welterweight is at the moment. Let's just jump right into it. So, first point of order is that Volkanovski is likely retiring soon, which sucks and is unfortunate, but it's about time. He's taken movie roles. He's talked about how he's way more content nowadays, that he may not have to have the belt to be happy and all that kind of shit after some of his mental health struggles that we've seen in the past. So he looks like he's retiring or that he's going to be leaving soon, and that opens up the title picture for the first time in quite a while, because there's only been like 5 champions at featherweight, which is nuts. Most matchups for the belt in the near future are going to be new and frankly exciting, just about whoever they wind up being. Moving on from there, we're seeing a changing of the guard. We're phasing out some of the old guard, like the Brian Ortegas, the Yair Rodriguez, and the Josh Emmets. Yair Rodriguez is kind of squatting and holding on to his spot in the rankings for dear life because he knows that he's not that good. But slowly but surely, they are either close to retiring or close to being, moved down in the rankings and ultimately probably out of them entirely. The older staples, like these guys, they're just not going to be able to keep up. I think we've been seeing this in some of their more recent performances. And I think that, they're just good enough to put on interesting performances and interesting matchups to challenge the up-and-comers, to make sure that these up-and-comers are just breaking into the rankings because of their talent, because of their skill. Super fun matchups coming up in the future with some of these older guys. I foresee some finishes. I can definitely see some upsets. I think it's going to be a good time. Just look at this pool of contenders. And this is just like some of them. Everything from, Mobzar and Lerone and Silva, who are kind of established, to some of the guys who are just breaking into the rankings or have just got into the rankings, like Steve Garcia, Kevin Viejos, Zombie Jr., some of these other dudes, so good, so good. I am excited to see sort of where these guys go, what they do. It's going to be very fun. It's going to be very entertaining. So what I want to do now is talk about some of the hypothetical matchups and what they could look like moving forward, and why, I think that they're potentially strong, and maybe what some of these matchups should look like. So starting out, this is one that's already been made, but it's good, and I want to talk about it a little bit. Allen versus Silva. Arnold Allen kicks ass. This guy fucking rocks. He's a pretty damn entertaining fighter. He comes to scrap. He's tough. He's dangerous. I really like Arnold Allen. I think that he makes for a fun fight, especially as a scrappy guy and his scrappy style. And that's going to match up incredibly well with, Jean Silva and what he brings to the table, because he is also very dangerous and in moments likes to scrap, but by and large is just a really good striker. But we've also seen that he's pretty dangerous with his submission threat as well. So I expect this fight to be very entertaining, very, prone to fireworks, so to speak. This is a fight that makes all the sense in the world. Gene Silva, he lost to Diego Lopez, but by and large, he was hurting Diego Lopez. He was giving Diego Lopez trouble. That fight, despite losing it, was a situation where we know that he belongs up there at the top of the rankings. He can hang with them at the very least. So it'll be fun to see him fight somebody who has established themselves at the top of the rankings like Arnold Allen. This is a great fight. Everyone should be excited for this. This has the potential to overshadow the other fights on that already great Paramount debut card in January. Moving on from there, we've got another one that's already been made, but I think makes a lot of sense. Kevin Viejos versus Giga Chikadze. Kevin Viejos fucking rules. If you have never watched Kevin Viejos fight, you should check it out. He's very reminiscent of Ilia Topuria in sort of his boxing style. Very dangerous, very crisp striking, powerful too. This dude is just like a wondrous to watch fight. Giga Chikadze is a guy that I think is a bit overrated at this point. He had some promise earlier in his career, but has not really been able to live up to it and has been very inactive. And I think it makes sense to just sort of not feed him, but make him defend his position in the rankings against an up-and-comer. And I think it makes all the sense in the world to have Viejos be that guy. I expect this fight to be probably pretty fun because Chikadze is, he's a talented striker, but I imagine Kevin Viejos gets this one done. Going to be super fun. Kevin Viejos is going to be such a fun fighter to have in the division at featherweight. Keep an eye out for this guy. So entertaining. Moving on. We've got Aljamain Sterling versus Steve Garcia. This is another fight that I think really exemplifies kind of what I'm talking about. Aljamain Sterling is coming off of a win against Brian Ortega and a loss before that. He's been fairly inactive, and we haven't really seen very much from Aljamain Sterling at featherweight. I think he needs a statement win. I think he needs a statement performance, and I think that it makes sense for him to fight Steve Garcia, who has rocketed himself up to like number 8 in the rankings by fucking smoking. Was it David Onama? I think it was David Onama. In that fight, in that main event earlier this year. Holy shit, Steve Garcia looks scary. If Aljamain Sterling can come out here and kind of nullify Steve Garcia's dangerous style, dangerous striking, and put on a performance where maybe he's like grappling him a bit, that could be very good. That could be a statement win that he needs to actually put himself in potential title contention, because at the moment the only thing carrying him to title contention is the fact that he was a champion at the weight class below, and that it's kind of a legacy for whoever fights him. But all in all, I don't know if Sterling gets this one done. I don't know how much success his career is going to have at featherweight. I think it's very reminiscent of Davison Figueiredo at bantamweight versus at flyweight. However, I think this is a perfect fight to sort of gauge that and figure out where he's at, because, man, Steve Garcia has looked really good, and he's one of these up-and-comers that's very exciting, as opposed to Aljamain Sterling just fighting like Josh Emmett or something, which you could make that fight, I guess, but why? Why? Or him versus like Yair Rodriguez. It just doesn't make a lot of sense to me personally, so this is the fight, in my opinion. This is the move. Just awesome. All right, moving on. We've got Yair Rodriguez, speak of the devil, and we're having him face Youssef Zalal. I think that this fight makes a lot of sense. Youssef Zalal is coming off that impressive submission of Josh Emmett. Youssef Zalal is a guy that, like, I think a lot of people don't rate because he's had somewhat. It's really weird because, like, he's a finisher, he's entertaining, but most people just do not give this guy his flowers. I think sometimes it's because, like, the competition hasn't been that good, but he's a good fighter. He's a talented guy. I just don't know where he actually sits. I don't know where his cap is, because submitting Josh Emmett is impressive, but it's not like earth-shattering or anything like that, or groundbreaking. So seeing him put up a good fight against a division staple like Yair Rodriguez, especially because Yair has a pretty fun style. His sort of karate and kickboxing striking that he's got going on. Seeing him and Zalal go at it, I think would be a great fight. I think that would make a lot of sense. Rodriguez should have to fight an up-and-comer because all he's coming off is the win of Patricio Pitbull, who we know now is not very good. Make this fight. It should be Yair Rodriguez versus Diego Lopez, but for some fucking reason they decided that Diego Lopez had to get another title shot. So naturally that leaves the two top contenders who either of these guys should have got a title shot. They should be fighting each other for the next shot. I mean, it has never been more obvious what should be made, especially since Diego Lopez is getting the title shot. Movsar versus Lerone. It's like a pride matchup too, which I'm very nostalgic about, the whole striker versus grappler thing. Doesn't always pan out, but when it does, man, it makes for some of the best fights. I don't know. I don't know who wins this one. Murphy's very good, Murphy is great at game planning. He's got great preparation. He's elusive. He's long. He's good at point fighting, at staying safe. The chin's a little bit questionable. However, I don't think that Movsar's the guy to break his chin or to knock him out and give him trouble. Movsar isn't exactly a power puncher. And Movsar's looked incredible, but he's so inactive and like prone to injury. So like, is it possible for him to come into a fight 100%? Like, I don't know. There's a lot of questions in this. Larone's going to be much bigger than Movsar in terms of like height and reach, I think. Yeah, I want to see this. I want to knock this out so that we can just get Movsar his title shot or get Lerone his title shot, and we no longer have this confusion and ambiguity surrounding the state of the division. So this is what kind of the near future looks like of the division, I think. But man, in the future, we can see some of these other up-and-comers go at it. Like, imagine Steve Garcia versus Gene Silva. Oh my God, that fight fucking rules. That's awesome. Or even Steve Garcia versus like Yusuf Zalal. Like, watching some of these guys fight each other at the top is going to be just so cool. So, yeah, and we've got like Jose Delgado, we've got Zombie Jr., like some of these guys that are finding their footing in the division that will almost inevitably wind up there because, the rankings at featherweight skew a bit older. And as those dudes retire and wind up coming out of the division, like this thing's just going to get a new life. It's going to be reinvigorated. And I think that it can stand up to the level of excitement and hype of the welterweight division, kind of what we're seeing there right now. Yeah, it's going to be great. I just wish they would have done it a little bit better. Like, especially it should be like Evloev or Murphy fighting Volk for the title. I don't really understand that. And it should be Diego Lopez versus Yair Rodriguez. For those who know, they know that those two have an incredible beef and a great storyline, which would have been amazing to have. Like, they had that press conference a few days ago with some of the upcoming fights for the beginning of next year, which is great. I love when they do that because they're so far ahead that, like, if anything cool or crazy happens at those press conferences, then they can throw that in the marketing for those fights coming up. And if they could market the press conference for Lopez versus Yair Rodriguez and they go at it like they did on the Noche card, however many years ago that was or whatever, that would be awesome. That would rule. That would be so fun. Oh my gosh. It would make for such a good build-up. I think casuals would see that and be like, oh my goodness, what is this about? Yeah, so that's my case for the featherweight division. I hope you all enjoyed watching it. Tell me your thoughts on the featherweight division down below. What are some matchups that you want to see, and like what up-and-comers do you have your eyes on in this division? Thanks for watching, everybody. Have a great day. Peace.